Welcome to Vegas, bro.
Thanks.
About time you came back.
I know it's been a while.
Yeah, but this is my fault, right?
You gotta work, man. Gotta
These
hustle.
last 2 weeks have been brutal, man. I've been all over the place, you know?
I know.
But I got home to see my father, you know?
Yeah.
You know, for you guys that don't know, my dad turns 90 on May 26th. They're actually having a party on June 2nd, but I'm in Anaheim for the event, for the party. But it's going to be for, like, the town, like all the people in the town, because my dad was a selectman in town.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, I'm the youngest of 7 kids, and I'm the youngest male in my family. So my dad had me when he was 44. And, you know, if people that follow me know that my parents were like big role models for me, but my brothers and my dad, my dad kind of raised me, us 7 kids. My mom wasn't always present because she moved away when they got divorced, and they got divorced when I was 4. And my dad kind of raised the 7 kids, but my sisters and brothers really took care of me because they were teenagers by the time I was born. So I did the concrete work, and that's how I got into bodybuilding. But it was really good to see him. His memory's not super at this point, but he's been in a lot of the videos. You know, you remember when they filmed All Access and.
Should go watch it, people.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't seen All Access, my dad's in it. He says some words in there, and he was like, I think he was almost 80 at that point.
He's a pistol.
Yeah, he was a pistol. So anyway, so what I wanted to talk about the other day, I was driving to the gym, and that video is live right now. It was how my instinctive training was, but I talked about body part grouping, and I think it's important that you find a schedule. And I actually mentioned that Dave, who's behind the camera, his unorthodox grouping style of training, I could never do what he does. He does like hamstrings and triceps on the same day, which is very odd to me. But the way I structure, and I would basically say at this point, my body part grouping is I train one body part a day. Okay, so I train a total of 5 days a week. I have 2 days a week rest, although that's not consecutive usually. So it's not like I train on Monday through Friday, take Saturday and Sundays off. I always mention the schedule, 3 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 1 day off schedule. So it was always like I was training like on the weekends, and you know, remember my life was a professional bodybuilder, so it was a little easier. But I like to train like bis and tris together. I like to train quads and hamstrings together. I like to train shoulders, chest, back, all together, okay? And then obviously, like we talk about, like everyone always asks, what about calves? You know, I train calves on chest day, and I always do them first before and I've shown this on the YouTube videos and brought it to Dave's attention to make sure that, you know, make sure we accentuate that the calves are always done first because it's priority muscle. It's always a lagging body part for everyone. Very few people, unless you're heavier, your calves seem to be more or less developed. So I want to talk about, like, it's not always been that way where I train one body part a day. So I was doing double split training. So if I was trying to get leaner for a competition and I had time, if you said, okay, I'm going to dedicate 10 weeks to get ready for a show, I always suggest double split training and grouping body parts that way because you're going to hit the metabolism more. So you people out there that are saying, oh, I got to do all this extra cardio. If you actually weight train twice a day instead of focus on more cardio, you're going to burn way more calories doing weight training over cardiovascular steady training, right? Unless you're really going hard and doing intervals, like really hard 1 minute and resting a little more 2 minutes and then going really hard. That's like intervals on like treadmills or step mills where you're going up and down and really pumping the heart rate up and bringing it back down, and it makes the time go by faster too. Problem is you can't do an hour steady of doing it that way every day. You'll burn yourself out. That's why you see a lot of us pros doing our cardio where it's just more of a steady pace and not the crazy intervals, because I only suggest like 30 minutes at a time if you're doing those crazy intervals. But so body part grouping, I mentioned the one body part a day, although, you know, you consider bis and tris maybe 2 body parts, but we're focusing on one muscle area, right? When I would do a double split training, I would always do the large body part in the morning and the smaller body part at night. 5 hours rest between each body part if you're going to do double split training. And how I would group it, it varied, okay? Everyone does chest and tris, right? So if you're doing push movements, you're going to use your triceps and chest. So I would do chest in the morning, triceps in the afternoon, okay? If I was to do shoulders and bis, I mean, that's one group I did. I did back and bis, but for me, back training was always so difficult. So I never did like double splits on the back. I tried doing back and bis, because obviously it's pull movements, right? And you're pulling with your biceps. They get involuntary worked a lot. I think, I did chest and biceps a lot. Okay, that's how I grouped those body parts. Always did the quads and hamstrings on the same day. I always mentioned that I do hamstrings in the morning, quads in the evening, okay? Shoulders, I would always, add traps with the shoulder workouts too, okay? So you got chest and triceps, shoulders and biceps. You got back on its own, okay? Sometimes I would do back and sometimes trap. Remember, my back training was sometimes twice a day where I would do, some wider grip movements, and then I'd go back and do lower back. I remember when I was going back and doing deadlifts off the rack at night to really improve my back, fighting the Ronnie Coleman days. And then, that would shorten up, obviously, the days, right? So if I'm actually grouping 4 days of body parts, that's the way the schedule ran. I would, maybe do 2 on, 1 off, then 2 on, another off. I didn't really have it necessarily, but the best sequence that I found worked the best for me. Here comes Capone, as you guys hear them. It's okay. He hears me talking. I like that 3 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off schedule. And I mentioned this. 2 hardest body parts of the day of training for me, back and legs. So what I would do is I would do chest on the first day, okay? Second day would be arms, okay? Third day would be back. Okay, take the day off. That would be the 4th day. 5th day would be shoulders, okay? And the 6th day, legs. Okay, then the 7th day would be off, and then it would repeat the cycle. If you notice, back and legs are always followed by a day off. Reason being, destroyed those body parts. 30 plus sets. You were around with all the training was going on, Dave, with the back training and the leg training. A lot of volume. And I do mention this in my volume training book. I mean, that's available online, Jay Cutler Club, all that stuff. I do want to mention that because I have a very in-depth ebook that's available. The link is in the description up above. You'll see the ebook. And I am launching the nutrition ebook soon. But that volume training ebook, 65 plus pages. And I talk about the volume principles and the body part grouping for, 4, 5, 6, 7 day a week workouts. Super important because everyone's going to have something. Some people want to train 6 days a week. I think, and people may question this, I think the guys that train body parts twice a week, obviously I believe they did much lower volume, but I think your body suffers more wear and tear when you're training body parts twice a week. As you can see, the success sits around this room with Mr. Olympia titles and everything else. So me training body part once every 5 to 7 days ideally worked for me. That's the routine I fell into.
I got a question though.
Yes.
What do you think about, because you said when you do chest, you involuntarily involve the triceps. When you do back, you involve the biceps.
Yeah.
So what do you say to people that says, wouldn't it make sense to put your arms as far as possible from chest and back, and especially not in the same day, to not overtrain them, so you don't either, because based on your genetics, you'll either have a good chest and good back and weak arms like I do, or you'll have really good arms and weak chest and back. What do you say to that?
Well, listen, Dave, the problem is, I can talk about all my theories, right? The problem is I know guys that train arms every day, and they get crazy results.
Priest, yeah. 30
on, yeah. I know guys that, it's like guys that do pull-ups 6 days a week, and their back's like this.
Yeah.
There's no, I say there's 72 hours needed rest between a body part, right? So if you're going to train your chest, you need 72 hours in order to rest time in order to train that again. But it's just like the 100-gram breakfast. People saying, I did the 100 grams of protein for breakfast. People say, he can't digest that much. Well, guess what? I've been doing it for 15 plus years. And it works. I don't get overweight. I don't get fat. Yeah. So you can't go by, the experts say, or the textbooks say, or science says. Yeah. Because listen, everyone's metabolism is different. Recovery is different. Dave, I was sleeping 10, 12 hours a day sometimes. It wasn't always the time now where I sleep 4 or 5 hours. That's the max I sleep. Everyone's going to have different, genetics. I mean, listen, I had skinny calves too, and you wouldn't think so looking at my calves now, right? Yeah. I had crazy legs. I always had great legs. But I had a chest that started here and ended here. I had no upper pecs at all. I always had rounder shoulders, but the shoulders always took over for the chest training, and my arms they looked small compared to my shoulders looked way bigger compared to my arms.
Yeah.
So my arms looked a lot smaller. It took me a while to build them. I think it's just finding the routines that work best.
So you have to try different things. Yeah.
It's trial and error. And listen, to this day, all the way till I won through Olympia titles, I still was on trial and error training and diet principles.
Yeah.
So we always want to learn. We always want to excel in what we do. So we like, oh, let's just tweak this a little bit. You know, you were with me for, I would win the Mr. Olympia in 06, and you could probably question, well, why don't you do the same thing? I was on like the blood type diet. Remember that? And I started with the Ezekiel bread. I introduced Ezekiel to the bodybuilding arena. I will take full credit for that.
Paid for that.
So Ezekiel, like the flourless bread, all that stuff, the cereal. You remember when I used to eat boxes?
Yeah.
Dude, that's all I ate was Ezekiel for 06 Olympia. I ate cereal and bread all the way up to the show.
Yeah.
I remember carving up on it.
Yeah.
And honestly, the bread was great. You know why? Because it would dry you out. Your body needed the water to digest it. You needed water to digest it, and it would pull
like a sponge.
And you know, I took no diuretics for that show whatsoever.
None.
Zero. It was
you felt
only
so
Olympia,
good.
Only Olympia I ever did that I took no diuretics for was 2006. My first, my first victory right there. Actually.
I remember how you felt mostly.
This 06, yeah. So, you know, that's how body part grouping. But everyone's going to be different. And you know, you can go back to say, well, why do you do calves with chest, and why do you prioritize it? I think anytime you have a weak body part, you want to go in the gym and you want to train that body part prior to doing something else, because listen, everyone always, the afterthought is the calves after they finish training back or they finish training legs. Like, you think you really want to do calves after that? You got to prioritize that stuff. And some people go to the gym and say, okay, it's a rest day, but I'm going to go do calves. Listen, I did that. I would train 7 days sometimes. I'm not going to lie. I just wouldn't go intense on that 7th day. You want to know what I was doing on the days off, Dave, that I was not? And you know this. I was seeing Steve Murphy in California for the tissue work, which was like a workout for me. I remember seeing him at 6 in the morning. I was the first client because he was fresh. And he would drop that table and he would crank the AC up because I had so much body heat when I walked in that. His space was, I mean, it was this big. It was.
What would you say? Can you crank the AC? It's hot as.
No, he actually, he would crank it, but he would drop that table so he could really get in there, and he would put his elbows in there. And shout out to our boy Steve Murphy. Give him a plug right here.
Yeah,
anyone in the Orange County area, if you want to work with the best, I will on record say he is the best neuromuscular therapist I've ever worked with. This guy created this career for me. Steve Murphy, shout out to you, brother. I'm going to see you soon, actually. You know that.
We're going to film that, hopefully.
Yeah, I've had some back issues lately, so just to fill you guys in, like, I've been in a lot of pain. I didn't do anything. I woke up after my Boston show, the Jay Cutler Classic, and I started walking around, actually, at the show, and I'm like, man, my back's a little sore. And I did shoulders that day, and I did legs like 2 days prior to that. And all of a sudden, I woke up Sunday morning, and I could barely pack my bag to fly to my New Jersey event. And I'm like, I thought I was going to have to go to the hospital. Well, it got worse and worse. It was such shooting, spasming pain. Guy Cisternino took me to a chiro. Thank that guy for doing what he did for me in Jersey. And Dom, and then I was actually with Sean Roden too. I could barely get in and out of a car. And then I came home, and Dr. Cherie worked me here. And then I was in North Carolina, and this guy AJ worked me there. And like, it's been getting better, but it's a slow process. I haven't trained legs, so it's going to be the first time. I'm going to do little hamstrings tonight and kind of, see how that goes. But I've been in a lot of pain. I haven't taken anything for it. I got a really good therapy session set up for tomorrow.
Oh.
Tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow I'm actually at 1 o'clock.
Nice.
I have a therapy session with Glenn Hall, and he's like he does all this crazy type therapy. I saw him for the Mr. Olympia, and he really worked me good. So that was pretty cool. And so I'm excited about that, and shooting the content and just keeping it going. So any questions, you guys comment below. If you're not subscribed, make sure you guys subscribe below. Please comment on this video. Please ask us questions. If I have to elaborate any further with this, I would love to do it. And I do get on there and answer questions. If you'd like to email me on the side, just hit me up or hit up Dave, Jay at jcutler.com, Dave at jcutler.com. We love you guys. Keep subscribing and, keep commenting on our stuff and kill it.